Today, we're going to talk about market cycles and where I think we are in this current market cycle. Let's jump right on into it. All right, guys, I am back after a couple days of not recording. The plumbing gods had called on me for a bunch of emergencies, and I couldn't get back in time to create any content. But I am back today, and hopefully for the rest of this week. And Bacon is back too, if you can see him in the corner there. I also appreciate all of the engagement and kind words from everybody on my last video on Saturday, taking profits like a pro. I got a lot of good feedback on that video, and I appreciate everybody who liked the video and commented on the video. And I try and respond to every single comment if I can. Some get lost in the weeds, especially when there's 100 plus, almost 200 comments. So I apologize if I didn't make it back to yours or respond to yours, but it wasn't because I passed over it. It was because I didn't see it. So today, guys, Caspa's price is sitting at 16.86 cents, and we are up 4.9% for the day. We are kind of just ranging still. We're up a little bit today. Still a good time to DCA. And, you know, I think we're going to kind of range for the next month or two before we see an actual breakout in the market as a whole. What I want to talk about today kind of goes along those lines. And I want to look at previous market cycles compared to this market cycle and compare where we are ROI-wise. And kind of come to a conclusion of, are we going to see a left translated cycle like a lot of people think this time around, or are we going to end up peaking out in mid to late 2025, just like it does every 4 years without a hitch? And this is all just hot air talk that, you know, people do every 4 years, thinking that this cycle is going to be different. So I want to go in and watch a couple minutes of this video. A lot of you guys probably know who Ben Cowen is, and he's a pretty large YouTuber at this point, almost 1 million followers, 800,000, and he has a very logical, I guess you could say, look on the market, and his charting is basically just looking back and finding similarities between, you know, past cycles compared to the cycle that we're at right now. He does a lot of Bitcoin dominant stuff. A lot of the things he says do play out in the long run. This is a perfect case in point of why I always preach to everybody, you should diversify who you watch, right? And who you listen to, but use your own logic, use your own researching skills to figure out what parts of certain people you like and what parts you don't. So, for instance, Ben Cowen here is very good at predicting when things on a macro term are going to happen, right? But he's also been telling everybody not to buy altcoins since 2022. And if you didn't buy altcoins since 2022, you've missed out on Caspa. You've missed out on countless others that have done, you know, 100x almost, or some have since that point in time. So you've got to choose the right altcoin. So what he's usually talking about is last cycle's garbage, basically, that most of them won't even make new highs, but you're going to have them bleed consistently against Bitcoin for the whole entire bear market, and Bitcoin's going to outperform for the vast majority of the time. Well, if you can find these diamonds in the roughs, these new, you know, shiny objects, you can potentially make a lot of money in the bear market as well. So that's the one thing I disagree with him on. That being said, in this video, he is going to compare the cycle that we're in currently to the past two cycles and give a very good reference of where we potentially are in this cycle and whether it's going to be a left translated cycle or if we are cooling off and falling in line with previous cycles before we get the run up in 2025 where we get a regular 4-year like clockwork cycle like we always do. So let's have a listen real quick for about a minute or two, and then we'll talk about it at the end.
Bitcoin market cycle. All right, so if you go over here and we go to say ROI from the low, from the bottom. If you look at this and you just look at the last couple of cycles, first, just look at cycle 4. So this was last cycle, and compare it to cycle 3. Do you notice how at some point we saw Bitcoin get ahead of the cycle before that? And then as the rate cuts arrived, Bitcoin got in line with the prior cycle. You see that? It got back in line with the prior cycle. Now, we did have a pandemic-induced recession, and we went a lot lower. Obviously, recessions can change what the general trend is, okay? And that's always an important thing to remember. But that's what happened, right? Early move, people called for a left-translated peak. Didn't happen. Rate cuts arrived. We got back in line with the prior cycle. And then we continued on. We had a hard landing. The Fed cut rates. The Fed printed money. And we went on our merry way. Now, if you look at this cycle compared to the last one, there's also a period where we got, quote unquote, ahead of schedule. And one of the things we said back over here was, what happens if we just get a 6 to 9 month period where the market just slowly goes down to get back in line with the prior cycle? And if you compare it to both prior cycles, measured peak to peak, Bitcoin went down to where basically those two cycles were at that point in the cycle just a few days ago. And that was what was interesting. We said that many, many times, is that Bitcoin could drop below 50K and still be in line with the last two cycles. So when you look at it like that, it made a lot of sense that that would be the most likely outcome. And here we are. Now, we do still have some issues to get through. We have a rising unemployment rate. We do have an inverted yield curve. We have all that, right? We also had all that last cycle as well. And, you know, you saw what happened. We had a hard landing and we just went back up after that. So it's an interesting way to view the market, right? To view it through the lens of these cycles, because what happens is, right, you get your QT rally, quantitative tightening rally, where Bitcoin dominance goes up, and then Bitcoin gets a little too carried away and then has to come back down, get in line with prior cycles, and then we see if it's a soft landing or a hard landing. You could have argued that last cycle was a soft landing, and then the pandemic hit, right? But it's also one of those things, right, where you had an inverted yield curve, and then there was a reason. Maybe this time it'll be a soft landing, or it could be a hard landing and there will be a reason for it, right? But it does go to show that by just simply having a more, you know, a calmer view on the market back in March, especially when the indicators were flashing that things were heated, it makes sense that this was always the most likely outcome.
So as you guys see there, he's laid out a pattern from the bottom and the ROI from the bottom of Bitcoin every cycle, and we have every cycle has an overheated area, and then we slowly come back down to fall in line with prior cycles as far as where we should be at price-wise at a certain point in time. And this cycle was no different. We got overheated in very late 2023 into 2024 first half, and then we're now slowly coming back down, and we have fallen back into the exact same level that we were at in prior cycles. So what this potentially tells me is that we are on pace for a regular 4-year cycle. I think if we were going to have a left translated cycle, we are going to get very heated very fast in the next month or two and just go parabolic up until, you know, potentially January or February of 2025 at the latest. And if we don't see anything like that, then we are probably on pace for, you know, summer to winter of 2025, just like we always do, just like every cycle in the past has played out. So I wanted to throw this out here, and I wanted to potentially calm some nerves. There's a lot of people that say the top is already in as well for this cycle, and that we're, you know, headed back into a bear market right now. I guess nothing's impossible, but I would bet a lot of money that that is not the case, and that we were just in that overheated period, you know, kind of like we have been in pretty much every cycle we deviate a little bit from where we were in the previous cycle and then come right back down to the same levels before we, like he said, go on our merry way and go into the second back half of the bull run where we really see price increase. So I think what this does is potentially calm some people's nerves about, are we in this stage? Are we in this stage? Is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Is this cycle different? Is this cycle different? Everybody, every single cycle, we get into this period right now, where we're in right now, and people either call for a left translated cycle, like they're doing again. They call for the bull run to be over, like they're doing again. And they claim that crypto is boring and it's dead now, which they're all saying right now. And then, like clockwork, every single time, this phase, this period that we're in right now, although it's long and although it's boring and although it's annoying, it ends. And then the good shit happens, okay? So just, if I can get you to hear anything from this video, it's be patient for a little bit longer and you will be rewarded handsomely, okay? We've just got to wait it out. The market is very frustrating majority of the time. You only get a few months where the market is euphoric, okay? So you've got to put on your big boy pants and you've got to suck it up and wait and be patient through the times that we're in right now. And I thought that this was very solid information and actually made me a little more comfortable that we have fallen back down into the exact same spot that we need to be in at the exact same time that we need to be in it based on prior cycles right before we hit the parabolic stage. Okay? Because I've been stressing out a little bit trying to figure out the same thing. Are we in a left translated cycle? Are we this? Are we that? And I've been constantly thinking about, when am I going to start selling? When is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? And I think this kind of reiterates that probably nothing is different when it comes to the 4-year cycle. Yeah, there's things during the process that play out a little bit differently, but as a whole, it seems like we're following the exact same pathway, and we should, by the end of this year, early next year, start our next run up. And this chart right here that Ben pulls up, by the way, that's his own website, and he does all this charting. He's got a lot of different metrics you can look at to get a good insight onto, where we are, what things are overheated, what things are underheated, I guess you could say. But this will also play into what we talked about last Saturday as far as taking profits and when we're going to start taking profits. And if we don't see any crazy price, like literally $100,000 Bitcoin in the next couple of months, then I think we're on track for a regular four-year cycle, and we can plan on starting to potentially take our profits, come maybe June-ish, depending on where we're sitting at that point price-wise, and slowly start layering out, okay? June is going to put us 10 months from now, and October, November, when the market should potentially peak out, is about 14 months from now, 15 months from now, if we go into November. So that gives you a rough time frame of when we possibly might see the peak and when we possibly might start taking profits. Obviously, everybody is going to be different. Everybody's strategy is going to be a little bit different. Mine might be a little bit different from a lot of your guys's. It just depends. I will let you guys know when I start taking profits because I'm going to be very transparent with everything that I do. And in the meantime, just make sure you guys are getting comfortable again with how you plan on moving your profits into stable coins or moving them into exchanges and then selling them into your bank. Like we went over on Saturday, that whole scenario, there's plenty of different ways that you can do it, right? It's not set in stone. There's probably 15 different ways you can potentially take profits when you're ready. I went over a couple of ways that I'm going to be doing it. The easiest way being, just swapping into stable coins in the Tangem wallet. A lot of people were mentioning that the Tangem wallet fees are very expensive, which I did mention in that video, that they are more expensive than transferring them back to an exchange. Which is why I mentioned that aspect of things. But I would imagine by the time the summer of 2025 comes along, Tangem is already in the works, from what I hear, of integrating new dexes into their wallet. So the swapping between your asset and a stablecoin in the Tangem wallet might get a lot cheaper between now and then. So keep an eye on that as well. And before we go, I'm going to reiterate again, if you don't have a Tangem cold storage wallet yet, get yourself a Tangem cold storage wallet. It is the most important thing that you can do when you're investing in crypto. Your portfolio might not be very big right now, but it is going to grow drastically over the next 6 to 12 months. You don't want to hold tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars on an exchange or a hot wallet where it can get hacked, where it can get stolen, where it can get confiscated, where it can get frozen, all of the above. Keep your money in your own custody in a cold storage wallet where it is safe and only you have access to it. Okay? Also, the link for Tangem official website down in the description below. And use code CatDaddy at checkout for 10% off of your purchase if you so wish to have a discount. So in the meantime, guys, continue to pack your damn bags before it's too late. I will see you in the next video. Peace out.